Hello, Addison. Welcome to Power Women Wellness. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I am so excited to connect with you and really geek on the subconscious. But before you might be like, okay, why are we talking about that? Share with us your career. What got you into being a hypnotherapist? Tell us a little backstory.
Yeah, so I always like to say that my interest in subconscious work started when I was super young because my mom actually used hypnobirthing for one of my siblings when she was giving birth. And so I remember, I think I was a teenager and just kind of being like, that's silly. There's no way that's going to work. Like, just get an epidural. But I started to learn pieces of it and I saw her listen to the audios and really she was so devoted to it. So I always had this like little, I don't know, inkling in the back of my head where I was like, I'm super interested in that. I definitely, want to learn more about that. And then as time went on, I always knew that I wanted to be in the health and wellness space. So I actually went to school for nursing. And as I was working, on the front lines of like the pandemic. I say front lines, I know like it's not war, but it kind of felt like that. And
I would agree it's work.
yeah. And I worked in palliative care, which is end of life care. And it was really, really hard, especially during that time. And I wanted an opportunity to like bring more holistic wellness to women and just to people in general. And so I just kept feeling like, okay, I'm in nursing school, I'm doing this, like I know I'm changing lives in this area and like people love me and I'm such a good nurse and all the things, but it just doesn't totally feel 100% right. And so during the pandemic, I actually quit that job momentarily, and I was deferring the last year of my nursing career just because we didn't know how clinicals were going to be and stuff like that, or not career, but deferring the last year of school. And I was a nanny during the time just to like, have income and kind of work on building my business and was opened up to the world of online coaching. And as I was, exploring this world, I was like, oh, okay. So like there are other people who, are doing different things that, like yoga or, wellness or breathwork or whatever, and they're making money doing it. And I think I always had this thought in my head that it wasn't possible if I wanted to go down one of those paths to actually like make a good living because I grew up in the era of go to college, do this, get a good job. And so it just started to open my mindset a little bit. And I got an amazing opportunity to work behind the scenes in some of those coaches' businesses. So I was doing admin and, just helping them with the marketing and behind the scenes side of things and working with ad specialists. And I just started to learn a lot about the strategy and mindset and marketing side of business. And then I was like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. I can do this. And I started to get questions about how I was getting these clients and just kind of naturally started coaching. And then I recognized this block for a lot of people that are in business where, there are people who have amazing, amazing skills and are doing really, really incredibly in business, but are still burnt out, or they have, all of these beliefs that are running the show where they're burnt out and they don't have time for family and they started their business for freedom and then they're on 24/7. And so I was like, there has to be, something more I can do here. And hypnotherapy kind of like just came
Oh my
up in the back of my
gosh.
mind. And so from there, I started utilizing it myself, both because business is hard and I had a hard time showing up online and like being visible, and also because I was just interested in learning more and loved it so much. It changed so much for me that I decided to become certified. And then my certifications have just spiraled from there. So I love subconscious work. I think it's such a cool thing to add into business strategy. I'm also a strategy geek. I love the foundational, like
Love that.
simple business strategy, but I think that there's just so much work that can be done with a lot of people's mindsets, and that's really where I thrive.
100%. And I feel like there's a lot of like business coaches out there. And so to me, I think having such a incredible like modality to supplement with that, because hands down, there's so much of, I think there's a mindset game in probably every area, like in our patients, there's a mindset game, but definitely as like entrepreneurs, it's,
Yeah.
it's a full mindset, it's a full mindset game. And so it's so important. And I love that it's just, I don't know, it's a more unique modality. And I
Yeah.
feel like it's probably underutilized, but I love that it also came full circle for you. Like you saw your mom
Yeah.
using it in birth and then how you've incorporated it now, like into your work. So what does that look like when someone works with you and they're looking to, bypass any subconscious thinking that may be holding them back or whatnot? Like, what does utilizing hypnotherapy look like?
Yeah. So, an actual session, I think that's something that's really fun to talk about because if you haven't experienced it, it does feel a little bit like woo-woo and
We love
what's
woo
that
woo.
actually going to entail? I also will say that now it totally came full circle because I'm using hypnobirthing and some of those practices for myself because I'm pregnant. So I plan to go unmedicated and use that. And I'm really excited to have that be a full circle and use that in my content and talk about it. But in an actual session, I mean, hypnotherapy is very nuanced in the sense of like, while I use it for business, I, see a hypnotherapist that does anything from weight loss to alcohol cessation to smoking cessation to, I mean, you can use it for anything, for anxiety, for depression, for like just ADHD. Like I've had clients that come to me that are like, I don't want to promote this, but like I'm getting off my Adderall. Can you help me, become more motivated? And obviously I have to work alongside with their practitioner and, their doctor. So I would never, say use this to get off your
Yeah.
meds, but I just want to
I've heard it for
highlight that you can
fear.
use it for so many different things. And I think I really honed it on one specific niche, but when you actually do a hypnosis session with me, most of the time people are coming to me with a very specific goal. So they might either just be interested in the practice or they have a very specific goal. And in business, it's usually like, I want to make more money. I want more time. I'm really stressed out. I'm not being productive. I'm procrastinating, or, my capacity is shot. Like I just feel like the pressure is really high because I'm doing so much. And so depending on their goal, that kind of leads the session. And I've been doing it for so long now. I have people that are like, how did you just, take that and turn it into a session? That was so good. Like that was everything that I needed. And it's really just practice for me. But in an actual session, I always like to say you won't feel hypnotized, but you will feel relaxed. So it's actually just very, very relaxing. So you're not gonna, it's not like this weird state or an altered state of
Like
being.
what
It's
we see in
just like,
movies.
yeah, exactly. So it's just a calm, relaxing state. It's the same state that you would access in meditation if you're super into meditation, or if you do yoga, Shavasana at the end where you're super relaxed. Even like when you're driving and you're the route home so well that it's so easy for you to get home and you kind of zone out and you're like, oh, I just got home and I took those like last 5 turns. That's that same state, like your brain's kind of in autopilot. So what we're actually doing is quieting your conscious mind so that we can speak directly to the subconscious, which I know we'll talk a little bit more about, but it's very relaxing. And that's why people keep coming back to, because they're like, I need this time, an hour every single week or every couple of weeks to just relax and take some time for myself. And it's guided, so you don't really have to do any work. You're kind of just
Yeah.
listening to what I'm saying the whole time. So the first part of it is typically a body scan that's going to help you get into that relaxation. The second part of it is going to be what we call an induction, which just helps you, or a deepener, which just helps you get even deeper into that relaxed state, because we're actually helping you get into a theta brainwave state, which is again where we have access to the subconscious mind. And then the actual therapy portion is going to be, tailored to your goals based on what you brought forward. So it can look very different depending on the client and their goals. Sometimes it's metaphors and stories and visualizations. Other times, I'm talking to people in sessions and I'm actually speaking to parts of them that, are blocked and asking like, what's the reason for this? Why are you protecting yourself in this way? And actually having conversations to them while they're in the theta brainwave state, which is honestly the most powerful. That's where we get like the massive breakthroughs. And then I just end the session by counting you back up. And then people say that they feel like they took a nap because it was so relaxing. A lot of times they're like,
Wow.
I didn't even realize how deep I was, but they open their eyes and they just feel, refreshed and renewed. But it's not as scary as you would think based on the TV
Yeah.
shows. And, you can almost equate it to like a guided meditation, but I'm facilitating the therapy throughout it, if that makes sense. So
I love that. That
kind of
makes
like
sense.
a therapy session, but you're in a
Deeper.
relaxed state. Yeah.
Deeper. I'm curious because obviously this is what you do. So, are you able to do that on yourself and put that into your like more daily routine, or do you need like you even need someone to kind of coach you through that if you're trying to get into that state?
Yeah, so you totally can do it yourself. I teach most of my clients self-hypnosis, which is pretty simple. It's harder to do yourself because you have
Yeah.
to really work with your mind to stay in that state.
Yeah.
And I think it's very similar to, like, I equate it to marketing. Like, I have clients that are marketing experts that then come to me to say, hey, what are my gaps in marketing? And they're too close in the noise to really see what their gaps are. So I think that can be the case for, most industries. But I see a hypnotherapist about once a month, and I love
Nice.
not only being an embodiment of what I talk about, and so making sure that's a priority, but also just having someone else, facilitate it is just so nice for me. But I use hypnosis every single day. I listen to my own audios to, mentor audios, or do,
I love
just
that.
guided visualization or self-hypnosis. Self-hypnosis can be done in a number of ways, but you're definitely able to do it yourself. I will say you just won't go as deep or really be able to like pinpoint
Yeah.
those blocks as much.
I'm sure it's very different when you have
Yeah.
someone guiding you versus what you're doing. But let's geek out about the subconscious. Like, what do we need to know about it? How does it connect to, yeah, our results we see in business and wellness just in general? So I that's a loaded question, but take it where you want to take it.
Yeah, it's a very loaded question. I feel like I could talk about the subconscious for like hours, especially in different areas, but I'll give like a baseline, overview or like a simplified overview because I think this is really what changed my life. I did a podcast interview this past week actually with my mentor that I did my very first hypnosis certification with, and he asked like, what was most profound when you started doing hypnosis, and it was like for me just recognizing how much the subconscious runs the show. So
Mm,
by the time you are age 32 to like 35, basically your entire life is a memorized set of behaviors, patterns, habits. And that's not to, scare people and say like, you're just living on autopilot, but I think it's almost empowering to look at how much you have the ability to change. And so when I did my first hypnosis certification, I think learning about how the subconscious mind is really running the show of my life was what changed things for me. So just like as a base level overview, I think when we think about hypnosis, it feels woo-woo, it feels mystical or like, I don't know, like a cult in nature or religious or spiritual or whatever. And it's really not. Again, we're just accessing a brainwave state where we have access to the subconscious mind and we can basically like rewire the operating system of your mind and your body. So it's exactly that, like operating system running the show. It's kind of like a computer program. If we think about, the computers we're sitting in front of right now, they have a
yeah.
program that tells them how to run. That's how they run. Sometimes you update the programs to run faster or better.
But it's
That's what
from
we're,
past experiences.
yeah. And
Okay.
that's what
Okay.
we're doing in hypnosis. So subconscious mind is responsible for 95% of your thoughts, your actions, decisions, and it was programmed, like you said, so just like a computer, from past experiences, from childhood, from ages 0 to 8 is really when you intook like a lot of that programming. So what you saw, heard, and experienced around you, from past experiences, from trauma, from, good times in your life as well too. So what lives in the subconscious is, your values, your habits, your religious beliefs, your intuition, your creative abilities. So like so much is there. The only thing that lives in your in your conscious mind is your rational thinking. So like your ability
Mm,
to say like, okay, no, I'm going to do this because of what just happened. But so you think you're making choices from like logic most of the time, but we're actually just running on old programming. So I like to break it
wow.
down by thinking about the conscious mind as being like the CEO. It's like you set goals, you make to-do lists, you say, I want 20K months in my business, or I'm going to, stop self-sabotaging. You're like consciously telling yourself, I'm going to do something. I'm going to change this behavior. This is my goal. But the subconscious mind is like the employee that's behind the scenes running the entire company. So like follows instructions you didn't even know you gave it from those past experiences, childhood patterns, limiting beliefs maybe you absorbed when you were 7 or 8, or even a couple years ago. So if these programs say stuff like success isn't safe for you to achieve, or rich people are bad, or I'm trying to think of like the top ones, like I'm not worthy. or
Yeah.
I'm not good enough at what I do, it will quietly block like the very thing you're chasing because that employee is like what's outputting everything in your business. So your reality, what you see in your business or what you see in your life is typically a mirror of what's going on subconsciously. And I'm not an expert in
Wow.
the wellness side of things, but I do think that that plays into health a lot because,
Yeah.
just as an example, I have a coach who I work with in one of my programs that's an IBS coach. And I know, for women with IBS, one of the common thought processes or beliefs that they have is it's not possible for me to get better. And
Yeah.
so she recognized that and she's like, well, I'm working with these clients that don't actually think they can get better. So their
100%.
behaviors and their patterns and everything they're doing aren't changing on a day to day. And I know this is deeper. And so we actually did hypnosis audios for them that focus on like believing it's possible to actually heal, envisioning that healing, et cetera. And that's going to change their behavior and how they're operating in their
Yeah.
business so that employee running, the entire company or running your health or whatever is going to actually change, your habits and behavior. So
Yeah.
in business, if you're constantly burnt out or undercharging or like overgiving or working, 24/7 or, you find that your income is capping, even though you like, how to make money, it's 99% of the time, or we can say like 95, because that's how much your subconscious mind controls your thoughts. It's
Wow.
mostly going to be a subconscious problem over a strategy problem. And that's where people kind of like run in these loops. So
Yeah.
it's kind of like
Wow.
being wired for revive or survival rather than success.
Yeah.
Your subconscious mind
100%.
wants to keep you safe.
And I've definitely seen that pattern with patients that come in and they are, I can just tell that the belief of being able to reverse something or make something better, gosh, their journey comes easier. Maybe not like, not anything's easy. Healing journeys are all over the place, but it's just easier and a much better experience versus people that come in and they're skeptical or they're just like, I'm not sure if this will work. Or if they've been burned so much of like, I've seen so many practitioners and it's like, what makes
Yeah.
you different? And I mean, everyone has their like their thing, their secret sauce, the way they think. I don't know. There's a lot of nuances there. But when I see those people kind of come in with that attitude and that belief, oh my gosh, I can almost now guarantee you won't get better because like I already have seen this pattern so many times. So there's a book that's been on my wanting to read list and it's The Biology of Belief, I think it's called. I'm dying to read it because I really like want to understand this more. I think it's incredible. So like what you're doing is so needed. And it's is scary but empowering, like you said, to think that like our childhood and our upbringing, we're not broken though, because we can always
Yeah.
reset neural pathways. Like I fully understand that. But at the same time, it's like, dang. I also think about that as like in my mom brain because I have a 14-year-old and 11-year-old, so they're not babies anymore. But I think of like, okay, what am I doing that's like
Yeah.
setting them up for success and making sure they have like positive neural pathways to help them get through adulthood because I don't want them looking back and being like, dang, my mom
Yeah.
messed me up or something.
But we're doing
So
the best we can. And I
yeah,
want
yeah,
this to be like empowering for people too. Like, I don't want you to think that your subconscious mind is like this intangible thing that's just going to block
you
all of
can't
your
fix
goals,
it.
or like, it's
Yeah,
like, if I'm not feeling good all the time, or if I'm not feeling energetic, or my frequency isn't, because you hear all those things. Like, it's not about
yeah,
that. It's just about like, okay, I'm recognizing that my behavior isn't quite up to par with the goals that I want. Maybe like in a healing
yeah,
example, I'm having a hard time actually sticking consistently with this new diet or with this exercise program. Like, okay, that's where the beliefs are coming in. And I think
yeah,
that's where it can be empowering because it's like, okay, I have the choice to change this and to be devoted towards
100%.
my goals and disciplined and stuff like that. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I think the scariest thing to me, and as like my personality type and like the Enneagram is like an 8. And so like a big fear for an 8 is like control. And so I think it's empowering if I have control. Like
Yeah.
that's so I don't know, I feel so safe with that. It's when I feel out of control completely that I'm like, shoot. So like knowing that like yes, this is embedded and it's grown from like my history to know that I can change that. Like I'm like, okay, I'm good. Like I'm just gonna change it then. I'm gonna work on that. So I love that. I feel like it's very empowering. I know you have a little bit of a health journey too with having colitis. I'd love for you to just kind of share how that's guided you to also living just the way that you do, maybe making healthier choices and whatnot. I'd love to hear that.
Yeah, so I actually met the client that I was talking about because I thought I had IBS. I just kept getting the, standard, you have IBS diagnosis. And then finally, a doctor listened and I was able to get a colonoscopy. They don't usually do that for people under 30. So it was
So
like
crazy.
it was a big deal. And of course, there was, something deeper going on. So what I have is actually called microscopic colitis. So it's not
Yeah.
something that a lot of people know. You Google it and it's like very little people have this.
Yeah.
So my biggest thing in like, throughout all of that, and I mentioned earlier that I really wanted to empower women to like heal holistically. So I wasn't against, taking medication or anything like that, but I was also like, there's got to be a root cause for this. Like if this is inflammation in my colon, like there has to be certain, things that I can change that can, mitigate some of these symptoms. And so I did trial a lot of medication. I trialed steroids. I've trialed, I don't even know all the names now at this point because there was
All the
quite a
things.
few. And just nothing worked. So because of the work that I do, that did cause me to look at, okay, well, what are the beliefs running underneath the surface? Like, do I
Mm.
believe it's not possible? How is this moving into my habits and stuff like that? And the biggest thing that I noticed that helped me was really mitigating stress. So making sure that I'm like working out. I'm not doing, high intensity like interval training all the time. I'm, regulating my nervous system. So it kind of took me down a path of reading all these books about the nervous system and, learning about foods and trialing things that support my body and stuff like that. Um, and interestingly enough, like I feel like I'm still on that journey. It's still something that I'm figuring out, but through pregnancy, I'm halfway through my pregnancy now. It's actually been a million times better. So my
Yes.
body's basically just like, well, we can't deal with that anymore.
It,
But
it
I
chills
read
out the
this
immune system.
study.
It chills out your immune system. So yeah, a
Yeah.
lot of the times people feel really good during pregnancy, and sometimes coming out of pregnancy, it's like sometimes a slap in the face. It's like, whoa, what just happened? Because now your body's kind of getting back to normal. But yeah, enjoy the relief.
Yeah. Well, I read this study about how like your baby actually like cells that you receive from your baby can actually heal your body in some way. I don't know.
Oh,
And I found that really, really interesting. So we'll see what happens after, but I feel like at this point I have, tools and stuff that really do support me.
for
So I've
sure.
done everything under the sun from the GI doctors to, multiple GI doctors to different naturopaths and, gone down
Yeah,
both routes. And so it's been interesting to kind of like pull the tools together of medication plus
yeah,
like the eating and the nervous system side of things and, the work that I do. And like I don't think that just like with hypnosis, I wouldn't say like this is the end all be all for you. I think that they're
for sure.
just tools in a toolbox that we can use to help us.
For sure, 100%. And I love that you even recognize that stress was is like a huge part of that because I will say that is absolutely more than food. I think the number one thing with our ulcerative colitis, we do have a couple of patients that have the microscopic colitis. IBS, of course, but I would say stress is like the biggest trigger. So even if they're eating like perfect, I can always usually pinpoint something that like, I don't know, something happened, stress them out or whatnot, and symptoms usually start. So I love that you, I don't know, pick that up because I think sometimes people think that when practitioners say like stress, it's kind of like a scapegoat, but I do believe that you have control of your stress. And I love that you already started like making those changes of like reducing stress in the body and not doing HIIT and whatnot. Because yeah, I believe that you absolutely have control over it, but also like some of it is tangible things of changing jobs
Mhm.
or quitting a toxic relationship or like there's those external things, but I think also like, yeah, the internal stressors and the mindset and like, I don't know, people pushing themselves or overdoing it or can't sit still and just needing to rest and create boundaries. And all of those are like so equal to like, I don't know, finding a new job that's stressful, right? Like, so I love that you have like put that as a priority and understand the impacts that it has on it.
Yeah,
Which is
definitely.
great. Because I think some people are just in denial of like, no, what food is it? Like,
It's just the food or
yeah, like what
yeah.
supplement do I need to take for that? I'm like, no, it's usually much deeper. So I love that. I know you used to use red light therapy. You mentioned not using it when you're pregnant, but tell us more about like, did you ever feel that's been something that's been in our previous interviews on like different health habits that
Yeah.
they use. Did you feel any difference? I love mine, but I always love hearing what other people's experiences are with red light.
Yeah, so in my colitis journey, that's actually what kind of led me to starting to use it. So I actually have one that's it's like a wrap that you can put around your stomach. So it's not the face skin one. I actually haven't used the like facial ones. So basically every single night before I was pregnant, I guess it's a big no-no around your stomach when you're pregnant, which makes sense.
Yeah.
But every night before I was pregnant, I would use that. So it has like Velcro, and then the red light is just on the
Nice.
inside. It's very cool. And I do feel like it helped. I
Nice.
mean, it was just another part of my routine. Like I also did castor oil packs and stuff that
Love
it just
it.
felt like it was like these small things that were rituals for me that allowed me to have like moments to myself. And, like we're
Mm,
saying resting and like, while I can't directly say, oh, it was this or it was this, or, because I was doing, all these things at once, and controlling obviously aspects of my diet too. I do feel like bringing all of those things together did help me have like that calm nervous system and like ritual, because I would do like a face mask and that, and maybe like a castor oil. It was like a whole routine for me. And I think
I
that that
love
really
that.
helped.
I love that. I agree with you. And if it makes you feel any better, I don't believe that there is ever, I've never seen a patient where it's just like, oh, it's this one thing. Like, oh, you just fix your diet and like you're all better. Usually it's a collection of things. And I think also that's what gets us having certain health conditions is because it's not just one thing. It's not just one
Yeah.
toxic product that you put on your skin. It's like it's a little bit of that and then a little bit of this and a little bit of that. And then it starts build, and then like you're overflowing and now you're like, oh my gosh, I have this condition. So I don't ever think it's ever just one thing, whether it's like on the healing side or also just getting sick. It's never just one thing. So it
Yeah.
absolutely is like cool. Everything all together. But I agree. I feel so relaxed in red light, and I think it forces you. I have the one that it can be used on anything, but it's like it could be used like on your face. It's not like anything that wraps around like the face masks or like what you have. It's just like a machine, but I can like move it and put it like more towards my abdomen, my face, or whatever. But whenever I'm using it, because it's so dang bright, you kind of
Hmm.
are forced to like relax
Hmm.
and chill. And sometimes I'll like read. I just usually, because I usually will do my face and I'll like switch sides. Um,
Yeah.
but it forces you to relax, which I think that in general too will also help you feeling better. Because I think so many people don't know how to do that, where they're just sitting, they feel like they have to be productive all the time. And I think as
Yeah.
business owners, that is very normal because there's our never ending to-do list is there.
Hmm.
But I love those things that like force us to slow down. And I agree, like red light therapy is one of them. Chickens is also another one for me.
And I love habit stacking too. So for me,
Yeah.
like I mentioned, I would do that and maybe like a castor oil pack, and maybe I'd listen to like a meditation or hypnosis during that time
Yes.
because you're just kind of stuck there for a minute. So
Yeah.
I think it's like a
Yeah.
good opportunity to get some of those things in.
Yeah. You're in your flow.
Hmm.
How has, because you're halfway through your pregnancy, how has being pregnant changed routines? So there has been some change I see in the wellness routines of like no red light and stuff like that.
Hmm.
But what else do you feel like it changed for you?
I mean, my entire skincare routine had to change because you can't use
Oh,
retinoids or retinol.
okay.
So small things like that, just everyday routine. I had a really hard first trimester where I had like sane food aversions, and I wasn't
Mm,
throwing up like a lot of people do, but I was just nauseous literally all the time. So I would
yeah.
say most of the shifts happened in my business to allow that space for me to kind of just rest. And I posted a funny TikTok like last week sometime where because my husband every single time I was napping during the first trimester, he'd take like a funny photo of me, and there's just like an entire album of all these, photos. So I think if anything, it was like, I'm a high achiever too. Even though I do hypnosis, even though I do these things, I like to work. I love my business. I love to show
Yeah.
up for clients. And so I think there was this period of like integration for me where it's like, okay, you've talked about, rest, you've talked about, I don't know, having some more space for yourself. And now you're really going to lean into that. And so I made some shifts in my business to just allow more space for me to rest. I'm in my second trimester now, so I feel a lot better. But it's just changed, even my eating. I'm not eating like a
Yeah.
lot more, but during the first trimester, it was like pasta and, things I wasn't used to eating versus my like healthy, like, I don't know, colitis diet that I was
Yeah.
focused on. So I would say too, it's like, it's kind of healed my mindset in that regard around fears
Oh,
of food and stuff, which has been nice. Because I was pretty strict with like being like the crunchy, colitis girl before, where I had all these routines and
Crunchy
habits and
colitis.
certain ways that I was eating. And not to say I didn't eat like sugar or gluten or anything, but it
Yeah.
was in moderation. And now it's kind of, I don't know, pregnancy is kind of like, well, if my body wants it, like baby needs it for some reason. So I'm just gonna, and then also in your first trimester when it can be harder to
So
eat.
hard.
I think
Yeah.
I was just like, well, I have to eat, so whatever sounds good is, so
Yeah.
that's been one of the major changes. And then now I think it's just navigating, like, I wasn't trying to get pregnant. It just happened, and I'm married, and I'm very grateful, and we're so excited. And we got to see, 3D ultrasounds of her yesterday, which was
Oh.
insane and just incredible. But it was this overnight shift of, oh, okay, we weren't planning for that for probably another 2 years. Now, like everything's
Hello.
kind of shifting forward, but I truly believe like that it's the perfect timing, and I'm just
Yeah.
trusting that. So I think that's the
I love
other
that.
the other couple mindset shifts that have that have happened for me is like, okay, we're shifting timelines, forward a few years, and just being okay with
Yeah.
that and releasing control, as we talked about earlier.
Yeah, for sure. It's like you're never ready either. So even it's like, okay, well, like, yeah, be able to have a couple years to do business
Yeah.
and to get things. I'm like, you are never, I obviously had my son very young. I was 18. But yeah, you're just never ready. But you figure it out. You figure it out along the
Yeah.
way. And it's such an amazing journey. But even my daughter this morning, she was in the kitchen and she's like, she's going into middle school in the fall. And then my son is going to high school in the fall. So I'm gonna have no elementary school kids. And she was like, "Oh my gosh, mom, you're not gonna have any more elementary school kids." And I'm like, "Yes." And she's like, "Yes." And I'm like, "Girl, I'm like, I've been doing this for a long time." And I'm like, I think I'm ready for that next season of just having teens. And don't let anyone tell you different. Having a teen is so much fun. It's so amazing. I know they always are, it's kind of talked about like, oh man, just be
Yeah.
ready. It's a hard. No, I have loved, 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 but I also have like a really close and open relationship with my kids. And so it's been so fun. So it's so fun when they're little, but yeah, once you're at that like stage where everyone's kind of aging out at elementary, you're like, oh yeah, I'm ready for the season. I'm really
Yeah.
ready. Especially because with business and stuff, yeah, I love having kids. I love being able to juggle it all and them also seeing like what you build. That's
Hmm.
really beautiful. But yeah, there's something so much fun when it starting to get there. And so me and my husband really didn't get to have too much of a relationship pre-kid. So we are very excited to have that. I think I'll be like
Yeah.
40 with two kids, like pretty much going in, one in college and one almost going in college. So
Yeah.
like waiting, we're like, gosh, right when we hit 40, we're gonna go ham. And our kids are like, what?
Yeah. That's
So
awesome.
I love that. So to close it out, what are some resources? And these could be books, these could be podcasts, things that like you really feel like they've changed your life, whether it's in the wellness field or business, mindset. I love me some books, so feel free to share. I'm gonna write these
Yeah.
down.
So podcasts, for just anyone that's listening, my podcast has a lot of free hypnosis audio. So if people wanted to try it, I think that's a great resource.
What's it called?
It's just the Addison Bowen podcast. So just my name. As far as other resources, I love the Diary of a CEO. I can't remember the guy's name that hosts it, but he just brings on like a wide range of different experts. I feel like he has had anywhere from like super spiritual woo-woo people to like, massive business owners. And so it's fun to flip through and just hear different perspectives and different, pieces of information or advice or about different expertises because they're very much so like specialized. So I like that. As far as books go, I think if you want to learn more about the subconscious mind, The Power of the Subconscious Mind by Joesph Murphy, I think it is just a base level overview of the subconscious mind, how it works. And it's, I feel like I mean, it's a whole book, so it's way more than I could go into in this one episode. I gave you like a 5 second, very basic explanation, but it goes way deeper into that. I'm pretty sure you can listen to it on Spotify for free too. But even when I'm just like wanting to refresh, stuff with the subconscious mind, because I have to do that, I think it's something that I've gone back to like probably 4 times. So I think it's great. I love anything Joe Dispenza, any of his teachings.
Mhm.
So like, what is the book? The Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself, I think is huge. Any of his meditations, although I would say his meditations are a little bit more advanced. So definitely like listen to if he has any YouTube videos or anything that's like, here's how to use my meditations, definitely do that.
Watch that
Um,
first.
yeah, and then recently, I've just been diving into like a lot of pregnancy books. So I think if you're a mom or you're interested in an unmedicated birth, there's like a hypnobirthing book. I can't remember exactly what it's called, but if you go into Amazon, and type that in, it's like one of the first ones that comes up. So I love that. I mean, I could keep going, but I feel like those
I
are
love
good
that. Those are great.
places to
Yeah.
start.
And honestly, though, even like your summary in such a short amount of time, at least I hope for listeners, I definitely am so inspired of like, I think taking, not that I didn't take it more seriously, but I don't know, like doing something about it and just making sure that like I'm not standing in my own way and various things. And so, gosh, if you can do that in like 30 minutes, I don't know what a book will do. Maybe I'll just become this whole new person.
Right.
But I love it. It's definitely motivating to hear. And of course, we'll put all your links as well, for website and any social links. But thanks for coming on and hanging out with
Thank
us and
you.
geeking out about it.
I know this was so fun.
Awesome.
Thank you.